Hi there fellas, my name is Necrotheus, otherwise known as Truth, and welcome to the Marine Scrim analysis. For today's Scrim, I'll be showing my perspective, and the next would probably be the replay itself. So, probably gonna use these videos as an experiment to see which is easier for me to commentate and for you guys to watch, so bear with me for the next few weeks if you appreciate. As you can see, I went for the Ling Rhine build, so that should be a clear indication that I am the designated carry, and you'll see some pretty aggressive plays coming out of Team 1 especially, or mostly just me. Also, when I burrow my Zerglings all across the map, it's obviously for vision, but if they try scanning it, you would want to try to be persistent and re-burrowing them in their locations, so they would waste their scans, and of course for vision. I'd also probably say that's the most important part at the beginning of the game, is to try to acquire as much vision as you can, because your maneuverability or mobility, excuse me, with the Zerglings is really good. And over here you can see me try burrowing a couple Lings in the towers and placing another Zergling in it to teleport them. So I have complete, not really complete, but pretty decent vision on the other side of the tower, and they won't really know about it because they'll just think you teleported the Zergling and nothing else happened. The build that I went with, starting with Zeratul, is absolutely terrible. Like you don't have stim, so you don't get any mobility, like really good mobility, and that's probably the most crucial part of this build. And the only time I could catch him is probably with a Void, like right here. See, I only get some of his army, and my Marines take forever to catch up with the rest of the Lings. And I would have to wait like, maybe like a couple more seconds when I could have just went in there and finished it if I had stim. So really, you really shouldn't go with this. I wouldn't say go with it, since I'm also going with it. I would say it's not preferable and not recommended, especially if you're kind of new with this. I just went with this because it's my style, and I've always started out with Zeratul with Marines, so there you go. Oh, and right here, when I'm on mid, I decided to back up because I don't have tower vision, and see, Astro comes straight in as soon as he takes his tower and sees that we're in a vulnerable position. So try not to get greedy and try to just stay with your teammate as long. Well, you could flank as long as you have vision. So I just backed up to potentially protect my ally from being flanked, or protect my ally from potentially being sandwiched.
Our allies are being attacked.
Ooh, I'm like 4 minerals off of getting stim, and it's a really late stim. Like I said, not recommended to use this build. But now that I finally have it, and I have a Zeratul, I could even try sniping a few elites or some important units, but at the moment I don't think I can, since everyone has pretty decent mass at the moment. And everyone's kind of out on the field, so lots of chances of getting flanked. Alright, so Infinity looks like he's busy fighting with the other side, so I could have also probably tried getting that ghost, or I could have gotten that ghost if my Void was a little better and my Marine targeting could have done better, as well as my scans, but it happens, I guess. You probably don't want to delve too far deep into our side, as Astro is doing right here. Unless you have your ally with you, because right now we can just push in, and we already got like a complete, not a complete wraparound, but obviously we can push really far in. So it's really not good. I get he wanted to trade, but that was still very bad. Oh man, that's rough. Yeah, don't do that. But you should do that, especially if you're just diving into the ramp like that. It's just a small corridor and you could just fungal so easily and Bane Bomb. That was really bad on my part. What you'd probably want to do is either not engage that or scan ahead and possibly try to out micro his fungals. But yeah. I don't think my teammate's Colossus was doing much, but it looked like it was doing something. Like, I don't know why Infinity was kind of staying there, just tanking or taking all those shots. I mean, he takes like some of my allies' army, like right now. I mean, now he's getting like some, but I feel like some of those Colossus shots could have been avoided. I don't know. It might have been. Also, I know everyone is trying to wait out for people to pick a merc and counter them appropriately, but since I'm Ling Ryan, the longer you guys like try to wait to counter anyone, I'll probably be really far ahead and have blink by the time you get your first Goliath or Brutalisk upgrades. Because this right here, PurpleKush, he has a lot of merc or elites, and they're pretty good, but see, I could probably just destroy it right there, but I wouldn't have if I had probably, or if they had, excuse me, like some type of strong tier 3 or 2 merc. That flank by Astro, by the way, was really good. Try to get as much value as you can, by the way, like right here, when he's retreating, just try to make him second guess himself and try to attack him back. Because he'll probably be like really scared? Not really scared, but like kinda forces them to think a little bit more about what you should do. Because that also gives the other teams time to flank him if they decide to. And right here where Jpxp chooses Stalkers blindly, which is pretty good actually. Since no one has chosen yet, which might have sounded bad and might have been a risk. But sometimes getting an early merc is a lot better than having to wait it out if you're behind too, which is tremendously helpful. And man, I hate seeing that, the corruptor that just keeps hitting the Colossus. It's fine if it gets a couple hits, but man, it's frightening for me just watching it attack my teammate. And he also has Ghost as well in the battle cruiser, so they could just, once it gets enough to pretty low health, they could just snipe and Yamato it. Ooh, and Infinity here kind of overextending, as well as PurpleKush right now, and I could just, yeah, wow. Then again, I think it was lagging right here. Yeah, it was definitely lagging, so I guess it was fine. Well, not fine, obviously, but it's reasonable explanation. But right here, now we can capitalize, and now we could probably move up to the ramp if I decide to go to the mini-babe. Nope, I don't think I did. Yeah, but my teammate is charging towards him, which is good. Never mind, he just backs off a bit. I should probably explain the essentials of the build and the units I use with it, because people know how to micro and play it, but they don't really understand it, and that kind of costs them the end game a bit. So here, like, the mini babe is there to pick up your units and heal your units, mostly healing. And when you stim your Marines, they lose health. I know, it's crazy. And when you go Sentry, Sentry is there to reduce the incoming damage by 25%, I'm pretty sure. So it's really helpful, especially if you want to take even riskier engagements. And oh my goodness, that was close. I know I played this, but I already forgot about everything on this, like on this match. It's horrible. The problems of short-term memory loss. I don't have it, but I feel like I do. But right now, we don't really engage the tower since I only have Marines and I don't really have any strong units, and they're still a glass cannon type of build currently. And even though he only has Stalkers, not Lancers, it's still pretty scary, especially if he has Blink. And right here, you can see that I'm using the Guardian Shield, and that makes it easier for me to take on these two players' armies. And I still back up though, because if you lose your Lings at the front, that kind of takes away the point of your firepower, because they're just there to shoot, right? The Marines are just there to shoot. The Lings are there to counter, or what am I saying? The Lings are there to tank. They aren't there to do damage. I'm sure you guys could see that nade throw from a Reaper, so that is an indication for me to engage up the ramp and try to attack his army, but I can't since he blinks back into his side of the ramp, so makes it a little bit nasty for me to engage with him. Even though I could have taken it, but I needed more damage in order for me to kind of drive through his mass. The way my teammate is playing as well is very good, since he's a Colossus, so it's kind of slow, as well as his army, and I'm the more maneuverable one, so he's kind of the support and the defender. So what he's doing is very good. It helps me not to get sandwiched as well. And now that I engage in here, I see that his BC's there. I backed up immediately, even though I saw his energy was low. And I could have probably kept engaging, but his army was also there up his side of the tower. Or, excuse me, our side of the tower. And I decided to not get greedy, so I back up here right now, and I see the Fester, which is a little too late since he fungled the majority of my army, and that was rough. But I still got with some of my Marines, so I can still take engagements.
Our allies are being attacked.
My Marines here are pretty low in hit points right now, so I probably want to stay back for a bit, but really, for me, you have to be really active on the map if you want to get anything done. That's kind of my mindset, and I think it's actually kind of correct in a way. Like, I probably should have waited there and let everyone duke it out, lower their mass, while I try to reestablish my supply again. But I try to do as much with as little as possible, and if I have more, I do as more as possible, so. And, ooh, do I get? No, I don't. Okay, that's rough.
Our allies are being attacked.
Ooh, when Infinity starts Yamatoing like that, and you're on the side of a ramp, and you're in a standstill, like your army's not moving, instead of trying to split, you would probably want to pick it up with a mini-babe and maybe boost it if it's far away, but I don't think it was, so it was alright. But even though it was only a little bit... Oh my god, why am I taking this engagement? Oh my, that's bad. Don't do that, that's bad. That's two tier 3 mercs, two tier 2 and 3 mercs, and they're kind of strong. So you shouldn't take that engagement, especially if you're kind of popping in through a funnel. And I got the BC right here, but I think it may have also been picking up by the lag as well. So I don't think it was as much as an accomplishment yet, but I still got it. So lag pog, maybe, absolutely. I don't know what my teammate is going for here, if it was just a full Colossus or some type of army. But I was just really focused on the game, and that's a real problem, since communication is really important and something that needs to be done. Even though if you're like really focused on the game, it's best to try to split your consciousness and try to help and see what your teammate needs. Wow, I'm surprised they haven't picked a Merc yet. I mean, like, 13 minutes in and no Merc, where everyone has like already pretty established Mercs, is really bad. Then again, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Just watching my own gameplay just makes me horrified. I hate seeing this type of stuff. I just nitpick every little part, and I try not to. And, oh well, it's fine. The reason probably PurpleKush doesn't also have a Merc compound yet, like a really good one, is probably because I took out his Corruptors and maybe a couple more elites that I may have forgotten about. So that might have also contributed to why he's pretty late on it.
Picking up or dropping off.
Look at this tiny little army trying to dive in. All because they have such big balls as soon as they get Guardian Shields. But of course it gets turned down because mass is still much more important. Sometimes it's more important than upgrades. Sometimes. Because if you, let's say, you're twice the upgrades ahead of one player, right? But the other player is still there and you all have full mass. The people who have 2 armies, which is what, 550 each, so what? That's 1100 supply. Is much better than 550, no matter what. Unless you have some type of hero or elite that can manage that. And ooh. Oh, ah! Because, yeah, those ghosts there, I tried to bait him in. So, like, he'll kind of feel secure. And I could just charge in if I wanted to, but I wanted to make sure he doesn't get his ghosts into the many. So, having him feel kind of secure when he tries to snipe me is very good mind games, I would say. If I didn't lose that mini babe, though, I think I would have been in a far better position. That's all well. And that just drives PurpleKush way back, since he invested quite a bit into his elites and not much into army. So even if he does go into army, he'll be really behind. So his best bet is to either go for like a maxed out hero, a morphed hero, or probably something that will aid his ally, because his ally only lost like 1 BC that I've known of or seen of so far. So, and what the hell, I have another mini babe for some reason. Wow, I was super ass this game. Oh, and we're getting flanked as well. That's a problem. I thought my teammate would stay back, but thankfully we had enough mass to counteract him, and they were probably getting flanked as well, I'm pretty sure, or not. No, I don't think so. Yeah, they were engaging with the other team. As you can see from the bounty board, that's rising up. You don't really need to have a scan in order to know what's going on. As long as you can see those numbers get higher and higher, you know that's a problem. And now that I figured it out, I had another mini babe. That's a real struggle. Okay, so I could probably just A-move straight into Team 4 if they have full mass on both armies, and possibly end their base. But Team 2 and 3 is still a no-go. Like, Team 4 is way too far behind. They can get steamrolled by both teams, any team actually, because of how much they've lost. So really the only chance they have right now is probably waiting for sudden death. Because anybody can come back from sudden death if they play it right. And right here I actually decide to try to be good for once. And it's working, surprisingly, because he hasn't used his infestor yet. Constantly splitting like that would probably helps. Probably helps. It definitely helps. So he doesn't have the decision, or a very clear decision, to fungal your whole army. Because he can't fungal your whole army. He'll probably get like at least 10 marines or something. Maybe a few lings as well. And I dove pretty far into here, which is okay. As long as, because he doesn't look like he's blinking in, right? And Astro backed away pretty far into his base, so he can't really catch up to me at that point. And right here is, oof, that's rough as well. See, steamrolling. And stutter stepping in, I could finally take it out. And you pick up with the Marines with all the mini babe, and that is beautiful. Am I really just awing at my own micro? It's not even that good, my goodness. Oof, that one's rough. I think I had my eye on that, but I didn't know my teammate was moving his mini babe there, I think. Yeah, I think I was a little focused on that. Ooh, that was close as well. Jeez. And, oh my gosh, you got the Colossus as well.
Research upgrade complete.
See, if players like him decide to keep flanking you or sandwiching you, it's best to try to get a support tower as soon as possible, as to avoid having that happen to you. And also for the transfusions, as my Zeratul, as you can see, is very low health, so the transfusions would also be helpful. I could probably get out on the field probably 30 seconds ago. Even if I have low mass, my Marines do a lot of damage, and I could probably try and look around and snipe and look for a couple elites. I will also reiterate that mass or supply is very important. As you can see, I'm staying back and trying to take towers constantly as to deny vision again, because the more you wait, the more rest you have for your fingers as well. Imagine having like, I don't know, 300, 400 APM in a regular ladder game. Of course you need a break, right? I mean, we all need breaks at some point. And also now that I have Blink, No one is aware of it because I don't think anyone scanned me or has clicked on any of my Marines, so it'll be quite a surprise to a lot of players. So as you can see here, he doesn't know that I had Blink. So obviously he put his Colossus too far in the front, so he probably won't do that again. As you shouldn't do, because Blink and Zeratul is a very OP combo.
Complete.
The amount of value Jpxp is getting with just those stalkers is really, it's crazy. Like, if you could micro, like, amazingly, pretend you were Alpha Star at its peak form, then you'd probably never lose a unit. Because wasn't there in an interview, like, how in the early versions where he would only go stalkers and he would never lose a unit, and every pro player would just automatically lose just because of how good his micro is and his macro? Like, if you could do that, like, strive for that, you'll always win every game, guaranteed, no matter the mass. I'm honestly thinking if I cover this in another video, but if I didn't, I will say that in a scrim where there's obviously all good players or experienced players or pro players, you would want to stay on your side of the map because feed isn't really evident. And every player in a scrim knows kind of what to do. So if you stretch too far out and risk going into another person's territory or player's territory, you will definitely, almost definitely, get flanked. So try your best to stay on your side of the map for the majority of the game, unless you're really ahead and your teammate also has your back. But other than that, just try to not do that. Yeah, this is the part where I think Team 4 just quits because they don't really have anything. I mean, PurpleKush has scouts, which is super late. That's like maybe a little less than 20 minutes ago. Or not a little less than 20 minutes ago, I mean like a little less than the 20-minute mark. Like, you would never want to get a merc that late, ever. If no one chooses by 20 minutes, you better have chosen by 15. At most. That Queen Fester pop-up as well is going to be quite troublesome, and in order to mitigate his chances of reaching you with that queen, because since he's cross map, it won't really be much of a deal, but if you want to lower his chances of actually getting any kills, you'd want to destroy the creep tumors that are placed very clearly. Like, with minimum amount of units, like not what I'm doing right now. I'm only doing this because I'm really far ahead and no one seems to be really active on the map or have any control on the map. So try to clear some creep tumors while you're at it. Because I know Team 4 for a fact is probably not going to be able to kill it. So he'll probably spread his creep tumors way out on his side, and then he won't have any trouble dealing with them, since all they have is what, like scouts and a battle cruiser, which I've already taken down, and they already have a weak army. And plus, the Queen Fester could just leech it out, so try your best to get rid of creep tumors with as little as units as possible.
Where's the emergency? Understood.
Research complete.
Ooh, Astro moving his Colossus a little too far in the front of his army again. We're on the side of the tower without any vision. Only a split second of vision before I actually took it out. So again, if you want to avoid that, just always keep your Colossus in the back. Never have any valuable units in the front unless you have vision. Or if you're severely ahead, like talking 10k ahead. Even so, you'd still want to do it in order to avoid that risk. Alright, now that you see an Overseer, you can tell it's kind of the end game, for my build at least. If a player decides to go overseers at the start, it's probably a specific build, or just to support your ally, so they can move around faster in the creep. But if you see a player that's this high in count, and like in count and bounty and upgrades, and he has overseers now, you can tell that he's reaching the end of his build order, and all he has to do is just outscale his opponent by even a tremendous amount more. And he's getting that, or I'm just referring myself third person, and I'm getting that for the queen in the future, since I know I'm probably going to clear house on both team 4, or just team 4 for now, and then team 2 later. Because team 4 is probably just going to die right now, and see, he's just messaging me to kill him already. But it's mostly for the queen, I would say.
Your forces are under attack.
The one thing I will say that sucks being at the top of the bounty by a lot is you get lonely.
Our allies are
Like,
being
there's no one that just wants to fight you anymore. The only time they fight you is when they want to backstab you, or when they see you're at your lowest. And it's really kind of sucky, but it makes sense, which is a smart play to avoid feeding that high bounty player any further. But man, it does get really boring as soon as you reach that number. Sometimes I even contemplate if I should kind of stay at a little bit of a low bounty. Oof. Oof. Yeah, I almost got that. It's fine. But yeah, I sometimes contemplate about it, if I should try to stay just a little bit above bounty or a little bit behind bounty of the second player or first place player. But I think it's just another way of saying that you need to learn, especially me. I need to learn how to kind of close a game out with that type of bounty, which is still going to be a little bit of time to take. Oh, you have all the time in the world, right? Well, it looks like second time's the charm right here. Yes, it sure does look like it. Nice. Nice. Nice.
forces are under attack.
Honor, my burden.
Upgrade complete. Research.
If you're wondering why I haven't also killed Team 4, I don't know either. Like, I should have ended them by now, but I think it's because I was scared of the scouts a bit. Because scouts are pretty good. Not very good against marines, obviously, but they're pretty tanky.
Forces are under attack.
But I should have closed it out, should have kept sniping his mark compound or something like that. Would have ended the game a little bit faster, maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes more, 10 minutes less. I like how he's just begging now. Man, I don't know, it's so funny to me. Oh, and one thing, since it's just a scrim and nothing's really important on the line, it's best to not whisper to any other player, because that's kind of gay if you do that. But since it's not really a serious scrim or like a tournament in that fact, it's alright. Just for players who are kind of new to this type of scenario, or just new to scrims, you know. Ooh, and also I did this double or quadruple drop, excuse me. 2 on Infinity CC, just to draw away the scout's attention, and 2 on the Merc compound that's already weak, so he can snipe it. But I should have probably dropped it maybe a second or 2 sooner, or excuse me, later. Just so he'll have more travel time to get to me, since he's already attacking the other marines that are attacking Infinity's
Your
CC.
forces are under attack.
Now I know for a solid fact that I can actually kill Team 4. And finally, I actually do take out PurpleKush. And that is GG's for him and Team 4, possibly, if I do manage to get the CC, which yep, had to drop a little bit more. And Team 4 is out of the game. We have only 30 minutes to spare. despair. The
I
fuck.
will be
30 minutes in.
Life flights here.
And now that also clears a way for Team 3 to kind of sandwich us if we get to sudden death. Because at SD, if one player's ahead, right, since I am right now, the other two teams would want to get ahead and avoid having or preventing me from actually winning the game just then and there. So they would probably want to sandwich me by sending Team 3's army to Team 4's side of the tower, or not tower, what is it? Team 4's corner. So if I were to try to take middle, left might try to sandwich me or try to flank me, while the other team tries to get middle. So he'll get higher in bounty while I try to fight the other team. And then if the other team gets low on mass, the other team would switch and flank me, and then I'll be even lower on mass, and the other team will get more mid time. That does sound really confusing. But what I'm saying is they kind of alternate. They alternate between who takes turns in the middle. And that's actually a really smart thing to do in a scrim, but it just takes really long time. Like if I'm this ahead, it takes so long to try to get back into the game, but it is a good condition or a good idea to win.
Ready. Now what? Picking up or
When other players try to scam like what they're doing right here, I try to do splits as to avoid anything like an unknown battle cruiser or a hidden infestor or queen, that type of stuff. Not just the flex, even though it's kind of trash still. Oh yeah, right here. That was the first, that one surprised me. So that's probably the only chance
Are under
a
attack.
player gets at trying to get a full or really good fungal
Upgrade.
is to surprise the
Research
player.
complete.
But
Not
since he
enough
got
room.
like some of the marines, it was kind of an okay fungal. But now that I know it's in the field and that I'm aware of it, he'll have to be wary because I'm also wary. And right here where my teammate's clearing creep, that's very good. Though he should probably just use a little bit of his snipers and
Our
clear it that
allies
way,
are being attacked.
just in case he accidentally gets fungled
Your
or
forces
something
are
else
under
bad
attack.
happens. And if you feel threatened because you look or feel you're in a compromised position, like if you're staying in mid and there's a lot of players around you and you don't feel comfortable with seeing a lot of units that are kind of surrounding you, it's okay to back up. Like, sometimes you can let your teammate know. Just don't be super excessive with it, because the more you retreat, the more of it becomes a habit. Especially at the beginning of the game, if you keep retreating, you'll probably feel like that every engagement is kind of iffy unless you get like a really good surprise or good trade or like a snipe. So it's best to try to stay and take good trades rather than just wait it out. Or not wait it out, run away. That's of course depending on the situation. Like right here, if I charge right in, the other team will probably flank me in the mid. So I would probably back up, but since he's getting attacked by team 3, it's alright to keep going. Oh man, I'm so glad that we removed or banned Reavers from scrims. Like, that was so bad. Having to just A-move literally 2 actions per minute. I'm so glad we banned it. That's all I have to say. Though I would like to use it though in scrims. Not of course when it's OP, like when it eventually hopefully gets nerfed.
Upgrade complete.
And I'm still looking forward to that. And I try to stay on ramp as best as possible. Obviously scan since that thing could burrow, and hey, alright. Do manage to get the queen. It moved way too far forward. It's a 5-second stun if you max out a Zeratul with an Overseer stun. So 3 seconds for Zeratul, 2 seconds for stun. So that lasts a very long time, and the queen can't also use its abilities, so very good composition to have. Overseers in general is just really good to have. And I did not notice that task there. At least I didn't lose much. I have a lot of health at least. But yeah, in any other game, especially in late game, it's always best to have an overseer, because at least everyone's gonna have like some type of morphed or maxed hero or some type of special elite. So having that as your arsenal will definitely help you a lot in scrims. You'll probably win like 60-70% of what you usually win, or not, I wouldn't say a statistic, but I'll say you win more than usual. Ooh, I still managed to get them. Jeez.
Our allies are being attacked.
Also,
Complete.
it's best to get Temple Zealots as your melee or shield, like your frontline, because they are the most tankiest and I think most damaging melee units besides the let's see, Reavers and Temple, or excuse me, what is it called? Warp Zealots. I don't know if Warp Zealots do more than Temple, but I do know for sure Temples do have a lot of HP, and they are extremely tanky if you upgrade them at a certain amount. So it's best to get that rather than getting cracklings or tanklings or any of that sort. And most of the players, pro players especially, they always go for it. Rightfully so, because of that explanation alone.
Our allies are being attacked. Our allies are being attacked.
It's best to PF early, especially if you're ahead in bounty, just in case anyone tries to early all in you, because they're obviously severely behind. But that wouldn't be exactly the case, or it would be very slim chance that they actually do it, because their army is so weak. When they focus fire the command center, they'll probably just all die
Center upgrade complete.
from a savior, or just from the army at home, or from the PF fire if I do upgrade its armor, damage, and health. But if you don't necessarily have to get it if you are behind or just it's somewhere in the middle. And you would want to get all the minerals you can for the upgrades. The only time you would actually have to PF is when it's like maybe near SD. In that case, because everyone loses their savior of course, and it's a higher chance of everyone all-inning, it's just good to know. I like how I ate that sab and that didn't do anything. They just got him all the red hit points and that was about it. See, when you're at that stage, you can just end almost anyone. But you can end very early. Like, I probably could have killed these players here, but the other players from Team 3 would probably have stopped me and then preventing me from obviously ending the game, making the game longer and prolonged. That's the only reason why scrims are a lot more difficult than usual. Not the only reason, but it is one of the reasons why it is a lot more difficult to close the game out. Then again, I'm still kind of learning how to close the game out. I'm not entirely good with decision making as of yet. I just learned from experience, but when it comes to the end game decisions and quick time decisions, that is something I need to work on. And afterward, yeah.
Upgrade complete.
His Colossus again, very in the front, and I decided not to go for it because I'm bad. That's the only reason. I could have blinked on that and could have killed it, but I did manage to get a vulture, it seemed. But I could have had a Colossus though, which would have been a lot better, but sometimes it happens when you misclick, miss micro, all that type of stuff. Sometimes you mix up your hotkeys as well. I did that quite often yesterday, playing a couple games. Also misclicking when I could have ended the game, but it cost me a win, which is also sad. It just happens. And good focus fire by Reaper on my Overseer. At least he didn't lose anything as long as I was taking his army. So if you are retreating and someone's valuable units are kind of coming forward towards you, try to focus fire on one of their valuable units or try to take advantage of a situation that they could not be thinking of or are aware of at the moment. Just so you don't come home empty-handed. And hopefully I get this one. Do I? Okay, that's good. That makes me happy. I may have been playing this a little too wimpy-like, I guess. Or I probably wasn't thinking straight at the time. Because I feel like I could have went for Team 3 rather than keep attacking Team 2. Because Team 2 obviously has pretty strong mercs, destroyers, stalkers. But Team 3 only has Goliaths and snipers, and they are the weaker team as of now. A very weak team actually compared to Team 2. So I probably could have killed him, but it might have been the queen that was the contributing factor as to why I was not able to try and all-in him. And also because he has a salve, and I don't like getting salved. It's so annoying. But yeah, that could have been something I could have done. And it's also kind of hard to see the queen, but I'm surprised he didn't burrow it, because when you do burrow it, it's kind of hard for me to overseer, or anyone actually, to overseer stun it. And it's best to have it burrowed if you are playing with a queen, and unburrow quickly and fungal quickly when the time comes, so the player doesn't have a time to react.
Our allies are being attacked.
Now that my DT Archon is out, I can properly end the game and quickly end the game if I decide to do so in this match, which I do hope so. And of course, DT Archon is see like that, you could just do stuff like that. As fire puts it, it's nasty. Like, look at it clean house. Like Archon, DT Archons. Archons in general are just really OP. A lot of fun to use too. It's fun to see those numbers. Ladder Dojimino numbers. I know. Jeez, Rick is giving up already. I mean, I don't want to sound cocky, but I mean, it's... You could leave. No, you can't leave actually in a scrim. Because in a pub match, obviously it's a pub match, doesn't really matter much. In a scrim, it's where everyone's pretty good, and obviously skill matters. Oh, obviously skill matters. Oh no. Whoa, okay, I got that out. Obviously skill matters. And anyone could come back in a scrim. That's what I was actually trying to say. My mind is jumping everywhere just because of seeing that Archon, everything happening at once. Ooh. Really makes me think about what will happen if I watch from a replay. The thing is so fast. But yeah, you can't leave in a scrim. It's just, it's very wrong. Unless you actually have some really important emergency real life stuff, and of course real life is important and you want to take care of that first. And it's okay to quit, I guess. It'll just be, just don't do it. Try not to do it often. Kudos to Gogu. He's, the SCV support is really nice. Like, that's probably one of the most underrated units in the game. Like, I don't really see anyone in pubs use it, but it is really strong if you can use it right. Like, I would have probably had 1 hit bar of health left if he didn't shield me. And the time warp is also super good. And ooh, I dropped it while I was still morphing. Can he salve, or was it salve already? Oh, he already used the salve, so does that mean he could take it? Or I could take it? No, I think so. If I can move my camera to the other side, hopefully I did take it. I highly doubt it though. Otherwise I probably would have seen a clip by now, but I'm not sure. Maybe I should scan here? It would be best to scan there, especially if you... Unless I kind of calculated it, which sometimes I forget I actually do. Now my teammate actually scanned, so that's actually good. It's still there, so it's not good, but I'm just saying that he scanned, which is kudos on him as well. Again, like the little things are what matter, even though it doesn't really amount to the very important parts. It's good. Again, this is why one of the reasons why scrims take so long to finish is because everyone is playing so smart and trying to avoid the fight that the player has to actually decide if he wants to attack a base and force a salve and possibly lose his army. But he'll lose his patience, which is bad, but at least the game will probably be a little bit closer to finishing. But right here, see, it doesn't look like it's about to end anytime soon, even though it does look like it has ended. People can come back, but it's just going to be really difficult at this point. They're going to have to come up with something really unique in order to do that, but with this amount of upgrades and time that I've had, with the bounty that I've given or risen, and some of the units that I've sniped and I've barely lost any units, maybe like 2 medis that I made by myself and a sentry, and I barely lost anything. So the best, just try not to lose anything, which is obviously very self-explanatory. Just don't lose anything. But it really does matter, like especially in the early game. If you start losing a lot of crap, then you can come back to the mid game, from the mid game and end game, but it's just gonna be really crappy and you'll be at a disadvantage. As long as you know how to play the later stages, you'll be fine. GoGuRyeoJD finally trying to destroy the base defenses, and now I'm trying to all in. I start dropping all my Merc Marines at the start, or at the front of the base, and he actually has a... Oh, I thought that was a anti-unit tower, but that was just his task. Now that I'm finally killing him, and I can actually tank this Colossus Ragnarok beam, which is crazy. Like, it's lasting so long. It's way too long. And finally, GG's to Team 2. They're finally gone. And now that it's only just us and Team 3, they have no chance in winning unless some type of miracle happens, like if I throw or if I lag out, which is not really a victory, honestly. But yeah, if you're in this scenario, you've already lost.
Our allies are being attacked. Not enough energy.
I'm not entirely sure Team 3 has a salve, but I have high hopes, not high hopes, but I have no doubts that they have at least one. Because they're wanting us to come into the base, even though they are trying to stay in the base because they want to have us come through the funnel, which is also smart. But right now they're just trying to get mass, and we're not near max mass. We're almost there, but once we get there, yeah, there you go. Here's the salve. Usually if you try to all in a base, you would want to get to max mass, but obviously if you want to end it quicker and you have the significant advantage in upgrades, you can just take the fight as long as you play right. Just don't clump your army, especially at an anti-unit tower. I see a lot of players do that. Like, they target fire the anti-unit tower, but they don't split, so it kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, obviously you want to kill it, but you gotta kind of dodge the attacks from it That's why it's called an anti-unit tower. And I do get it. This is by the tip of that lightning. I don't actually know what that's called. What is that? Is that like an ability in regular Starcraft? In campaign? I'm not sure.
Our allies are being attacked.
Yeah, and that's also the problem. See, he actually kind of pointed it out that I got strong Marines with a Zeratul start. And I just explained it out. Obviously, play it careful. Just keep poking in and out. If you see an opportunity, you take it. Even with slow lines, you would still want to take the opportunity. Again, my style, not preferable to go for. But if you want, it is. It's kind of fun. Kind of makes the enemy waste scans, of course. Zeratools and Worldlings. Forces them to make an Oracle, which is kind of, what, 150? When really you didn't really up anything on the Zeratul. You just went everything on Rhine, so that's kind of 150 they wasted on. Not really wasted, it's really useful since Zeratul has a lot of versatility. Hey, I overseer the command centers, and that should be GG's for them. Obviously, all the players in the scrim, including me and all the pros, every player in MA, have a lot to learn, obviously, to improve their skill and other tactics and that kind of stuff. But I hope this kind of helped in kind of teaching you. Again, I'm going to try to do another teaching style or commentating style where I actually watch the replay rather than record to see if that may be better. As in, like, I'll probably alternate and switch between players and try to commentate over them. Or choose another player to commentate over. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you like it, subscribe. If you like it, hit the notification bell and do all that funky stuff and more. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!